Good morning, gang. Happy Saturday morning. Okay, so here it is. It's January. And at this point of year, most of us are probably planning our food production for 2024, whether it's just writing up your garden plan, maybe it's buying your seeds as the seed catalogs are starting to show up in the mail. Maybe you're stratifying some seeds that need cold over the winter, whatever you're doing, right? But what if it came to a point where you weren't allowed to anymore? Okay. How many of you have ever purchased a side of beef, a whole hog, maybe stopped at a roadside fruit stand and bought peaches, apples, anything? I'd venture to guess that most of us have done this sometime in our life. How many of you have found some sort of source for whatever you can't raise yourself to get in an SHTF situation? I mean, y'all know me. I mean, where I live, there's a lot of cattle. Okay. Finding a source for beef is not overly difficult. And the nice part is when I get it straight from the rancher. He raises the cow. We take it to butcher, and it comes to my house. That's it. It doesn't go through the meat processing plants of Tyson or Smithfield. It doesn't wind up on the Kroger shelf or anything like that. It comes cow, butchered, me. That's it. Do I trust it? Yeah. Okay. Why shouldn't I? It is, I know the producer, I know the rancher's reputation, that we're not filling the cow full of hormones or anything of the sort. It's not GMO. And so therefore I'm getting real beef. Amazingly tastes completely different than the stuff I get in the grocery store. Okay. It actually tastes like meat, believe it or not. No pink slime, nothing that I'm dealing with in that. But what happens if you can't get that anymore? What happens if the globalist communists, i.e., the Joe Biden regime, stopped you from doing it? Okay. You think, oh, that'll never happen, right? Yeah. I'll give you a couple of stories here. First one happened Thursday, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Amos Miller. Some of you may know the name. He's the Amish farmer who has been persecuted by the USDA, the FDA, the government as a whole, the state police, for selling his wares, okay, whether it's eggs or raw milk or anything of the sort, to the public. He's not licensed as a business. And Thursday, again, the state police decided to raid his farm, confiscating basically everything: his milk, his eggs, his meat, including even the buffalo meat that he raises, which isn't regulated in any way, shape, or form by the US government. Okay. But they took that too. Okay. Because they don't want somebody selling something that is going straight to the consumer and not through the global maze that is, gee, we've got to do something to, again, choosing my words, manipulate the product. Okay, let's leave it there. Now, by no means do I agree with Miller's defense on this. Miller keeps going up and believing he's a sovereign citizen. Okay. And I'm sorry, the sovereign citizen movement has absolutely zero legality. Uh, the belief that the people decide which laws they're going to follow, not the courts. No, sorry, that doesn't fly. That's anarchy. Okay. Uh, yes, we live in a civilized society. We are a society of rules and laws. The issue is we don't have a civilized government anymore making those rules and laws. We have a dictatorial government who think that they can do whatever the hell they want. Now, there was also a story I was told this past week about a lady here in Tennessee, my local area, who has fought a similar issue with her raising goats with goat milk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the feds came in and, to make a long story short, prevented her goats from grazing and kept them all in one spot, which literally would have killed the goats because goats will eat everything quickly and you have to move them so everything can grow back. So you got to rotate them around, right? And the feds wouldn't let her do that. So they were going to kill all the goats, starve them to death. So the lady got smart and she sold all the goats. Now, this is where you get into something that is concerning. And you guys make your own decision on this. I'm just going to give you this. So this lady started a co-op, okay, where about 50 farmers could bring in their wares, and she would manage a store, if you will, where the people, a customer could come in and say, "Oh, I want a dozen eggs," and buys a dozen eggs from Joe's farm and puts the money in the box, and Joe's farm gets paid. And somebody else comes in and wants ground beef, and they buy it from Bob's farm, and they put it in the box, and Bob gets paid. And of course, this lady takes a commission, if you will, from all the sales, and that's how she makes her living. It sounds like a good idea, but I want to give you this. If the feds are going after Amos Miller, a guy selling stuff out of his farm, they know he exists. What do you think they're going to do with somebody who is running a collective of farms selling all their goods? That lady certainly is on the Fed's list. Inevitably, because she is, they're going to know who all the farmers and ranchers are that are selling this stuff. And depending on somebody's capacity, they may know you as the customer. Okay? Now, if you go in there and pay cash and say, "Hey, I don't want to sign up to be part of the co-op, but I will buy something," you're probably safe. But if you sign up to be part of it, you're now on a list. Okay. It's funny. So many times we talk about OPSEC and not telling anybody what we have. Yet in so many day-to-day things we do, YouTube, okay, we kind of let it pass. Y'all know as well as I do that every prepper channel, anything that is pro-Trump on social media, we're on a list somewhere, okay? And as much as people say, "Well, I've got a pseudonym," they don't know my real name, including me. Okay, they know you, all right? Your IP address takes you right to it, okay? So you're found. But we don't need to make ourselves blatantly obvious, first off. But second off, we don't need to invite them to come harass us. That's all it is. It's harassment, okay? Gee, you're telling a person that they can't go buy food to feed their family. And they bitch about Amos Miller saying, "Oh, well, we're not sure he doesn't have listeria in his milk, or maybe there's E. coli in his food. We have this one case where somebody got sick where there was a possibility that his milk caused their death." All right? Okay. Because that's never happened in a grocery store, ever, right? Nobody's ever got E. coli or listeria from food that went through USDA and FDA inspections, right? Okay. Gee, I seem to remember something less than a week ago that I was telling you about USDA approved ground beef that got recalled because, oh, it was contaminated. But that was approved. Yeah. Okay. This is the thing. You know, we are all to a point, again, this spring, where God knows where our income's going to come from. We're seeing layoffs. Worst jobs report in 2 years yesterday. Okay. Do not let them tell you 216,000 jobs were created. That's a lie. The true fact is 1.5 million jobs, full-time jobs, were lost in December. Okay. That's the truth. That Joe won't tell you. So we have to come up with ways to make money, to feed ourselves, whatever. And as I've suggested to people before, with Walmart selling a tomato start, 3 or 4 inches high, and they want $6 for it. When you're planting your plants, plant a bunch of extra and sit down at the bottom of your driveway, or go sit in a parking lot somewhere and sell plants in solo cups. Make a few bucks. A few of you guys actually did it last year and said, "Oh my God, I made $500 or whatever doing it, on $50 investment, solo cups, a little bit of soil and some seeds." And hey, what do you know? You got a little extra spending money to go buy whatever you need. But think about if you can't do that, but then think about take it a step further. Let's say the feds go, count on this, okay? Gee, we don't want you growing food for your own use anymore because we're afraid you might get sick from it. Remember, they're afraid that we might get sick from growing our own food or eating something, but they weren't afraid of anybody getting sick from that. Okay, double standards. We know how those work. Don't think that is a surprise. Remember what we heard, was it about a year ago, and there was the big uproar about it, where they wanted everybody to register their gardens? Remember that? Yeah. Okay. Don't expect that one to die on the vine. We'll probably hear about that in the springtime again, where, gee, you need to register your garden and tell the state, the city, the county, whoever, what you have, because we need to find food to feed these illegals. And, oh, gee, we think you're raising too many tomatoes. We need you to give us 20 pounds a week of tomatoes based on how much garden space you have, because we need to feed these illegals. Think that can't happen? Ask Amos Miller. They're coming in and raiding his and confiscating his food with no legal basis. No warrant, no nothing. They just don't like him. Gee, how many of us aren't liked by Joe Biden? My guess is it'll be 51 or 52%. We should know that number in November. Pinball out.